This is IA Forward, your playbook for success as an independent insurance agent. Here to help you knock it out of the ballpark are your hosts, Shane Tatum and Tonya Lead.
Welcome to IA Forward. I was on a plane on Sunday, Shane, and surprise, right?
Yeah, surprise.
And I'm sitting there in my seat as we're taking off, and I noticed that there were people in the row in front of me that had been talking across people. And right before we took off, they rearranged seats. So I'm in the window seat in like row 27, and they're in the two aisle seats on row 26. And as the plane takes off, I notice they're getting louder. And I realized they were two people that were flying into beautiful scenic Pensacola, Florida for an insurance conference, one of whom owned an independent agency, and the other was with a tech company that was going to be a vendor at this particular conference.
I hate to do this, but men or women?
They were both men.
Okay, of course they were. Let me guess, they're complaining. They're griping.
They were complaining. Absolutely,
Yeah.
100% complaining about the industry. The vendor rep was talking about how the only reason he even came to this conference was he wanted to bring his wife and kids to the beach, that he really didn't want to be there. The agent, of course, was complaining about the market that we're in. There was so much negativity. And all I could think of was I just wanted to reach up to the row in front of me and shake these guys and say, look, for the next 50 minutes, we're going to be in a metal tube, in the air, over nothing, and you're going to be negative. There are people listening to you, all of whom need insurance. Let's maybe have some positivity, because while they may not be your customers, they're customers of the industry.
There's so much from just conversations we've had. I'm going to go down a slightly different path and say that sometimes this starts out as what I would call space filler. People don't know what to say, and so they start saying something negative because that's what people are hearing. That's what people are feeling. And so absence intelligent opinion, or absence just pure thought or maybe original thought, they immediately go into this small talk environment with what they've been hearing and what they've been feeling and dealing with. This is really terrible for the insurance industry. And yes, it can start with one person. It can start with you. We do not need more negativity in our lives. Even in a soft market, we do not need negativity in the marketplace, in our businesses, with our team of people, certainly with our customers, because there's so much of insurance that consumers or business owners feel like is forced on them or mandated on them that we can't get to the true value. We spend so much time trying to get to the true value. And what you're doing, what these two gentlemen are doing, is they're exacerbating the problem. They're amplifying what's already naturally going to be said when it's, I'm in the insurance business. There's already so much natural negativity that we don't need to manufacture and create more negativity because we're looking for space filler in conversation.
My first thought when I heard the vendor say that the only reason he was coming to this conference was so that he could bring his family to the beach for a week. I've been around conferences a long time. So have you. We all know this is true. We know that this happens on a very regular basis. That's why Arkansas is having their event in Pensacola, Florida, because that way people get to write off their family vacations as a business expense. That's why when you look at insurance conferences in the summer, they're all along the Gulf of Mexico. I get it. However, to the person that's listening to this conversation that knows nothing about insurance, that just overheard that remark, that created so much negativity of, yeah, my homeowner's insurance went up 40% this year, and it's because I'm paying for other people's vacations.
Who wouldn't naturally make that connection? That's why so many companies suspended their reward trips. this year. There's usually several trips from a production standpoint that our leadership team gets to go on, PR with the C-suites and the regional executives of various companies. Those trips have been pulled back this year, like severely. Out of what's normally 6 to 8, there's 2. And in one of those, we didn't win it. I got invited as an extra because I'm on a panel. This is one of those things where the industry's trying to manage this reality of profitability or lack of profitability, and rates and prices are going up. And our public comments, even though we may not realize how public a plain conversation would be, but our public comments matter. It's like, Shane, Tonya, why are y'all picking on something so small as this, overhearing conversation on a plane? Because it's a microcosm of the bigger issues that we do this all the time. We have to stop. We have to move to being proud of our industry. And I really think it's mindset. We can do this. I'm proud of our industry. I'm specifically proud of the independent agency channel. When I started in the mid-90s, we were 22, 23% personal lines market share. Right now, we're 34 to 36% personal lines market share and growing. A 12% jump in market share in a mature industry over 25 years is a lot, especially an industry that's hundreds of billions of dollars in the United States. Personal lines, personal insurance. I'm proud of that. I get excited about my Mondays. Why do I get excited about Mondays? Because I love my job and I love my industry and I love the career that I've picked. I want agents to move there. I want you to be able to have those conversations that isn't like just going with the flow of mediocrity or negativity. That's like the podcast where we talked about booked and busy. It's a phrase. Why do we have to go there as the default? Why can't the default be something positive about our industry? That's the thing I want to encourage, is I want us to really take this serious and think about this, because it hurts us more than we think it hurts us.
This evening is this conference's big party. They've got like a reception at 5:30 and then a casino night at 9 p.m. I am so tempted to just drive over there and crash their party and say nothing but positive things for a few hours and see what happens.
You would be the weirdo in the corner is what would happen.
But I wouldn't be in the corner. You should know better than that.
What can we say to encourage people to not do this? I know there are agents in certain parts of the country. Our California friends, our Louisiana friends are having some improvements. New commissioner over there making some really awesome changes. Florida's working their way through it. So unless you're in one of those 3 states, I'm not really going to give you a ton of pity. Most of the agents, unless you're in one of those states where new business has been totally shut down, I don't mean, you have a 15-day pause on the binding process for certain risk, or you have a pullback of tightening of underwriting, no new business. There are captive agents in California where their carrier has stopped writing business, and I'm not really sure the specifics on that, but I'm pretty sure they can't just place that business elsewhere. Some of them may have gotten that authority to do some of that. But most of the time, those situations in a captive company, like they're shut down, like their only chance is to renew business, sell, cross-sell maybe in some cases. And so when the reality hits us that even the best elite of us are going to lose 3 to 5% of our business every year, when you can't write new business, it's panic mode. I'm not talking about that, because that's only going on in a very small number of pockets around the country. The majority of us are still able to produce business on some level. It may be harder, it may be a little more challenging, but we can still do it. The revenue is up. Regardless of where you land, regardless as an agent, you're like, yeah, but my customers are getting hammered and my customers are mad. And are they just getting mad at you? Are you the only person on planet Earth that inflation, your customers, you're the only one that inflation is affecting? Every industry. French fries cost more.
Bluebell ice cream is $9 in half gallon. I just can't even go there. That's insane.
And we're still pulling Bluebell off the shelf like it's ice cream. It's awesome. Bluebell's awesome. And we're still buying it. It's probably 5 years ago, $4, $4.50, $5, somewhere in that range. But it's inflated a ton. And we're still buying it. You know why? Because we love ice cream. And the ice cream people don't walk around talking about their pathetic lives. They have great lives. Guess what? You have a great life if you're in the insurance industry. You have an incredible life if you're an independent agent because you're not stuck in a corner. You have choices. And even though the choices have shrunk a little, even though there are less choices than they were 5 years ago, there's still more than your captive friends. Why does our agency network continue to grow? 2024 year to date, new agents on board, not even halfway through the year, is right, like within an agent or two of new agents coming on board, all of 2023, all from the captive side. Why? Why is that? Because they don't have any choices. We have it so good compared to the marketplace.
I do want to note that Shane did not give me permission to go and crash an insurance conference this evening, and I'm disappointed by that.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. But if it stays negative, maybe we should. Maybe that would be fun. Oh my gosh, here comes the cheesy positive parade in the form of a vertically challenged middle-ager and a 6-foot blonde. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
But here's the thing about making this mental change. It doesn't just happen naturally. So many of us have been stuck in this world of negativity, and it has spiraled and gotten darker and darker. That doesn't just change. You have to make a concentrated effort beyond daily, beyond hourly. I mean, it's a minute-to-minute, moment-to-moment decision. And I have days where I have to put those Post-it notes at the edge of my monitor to remind me of that, which I know Shane, like his head just exploded a little because he's anti-sticky note. But I get to work from home, so I can have all the sticky notes that I want to. But there are reminders to me of how amazing life can be when I make the decision to focus on the positive.
There is habit forming in positivity, just like there's habit formation in negativity. If you do make it a point to try to say, okay, I'm going to do better at this, even if you're not the worst, even if you're listening and you're like, I'm a pretty positive person. You know, some of you are, maybe even most of you are, but obviously there's a lot of negativity out there. So the louder people are being more negative, maybe. If there is a true desire of, you know what, it doesn't do me any good to complain. It doesn't do me any good to be negative. I'm not talking about pointing out a problem. We have a situation right now with a carrier and deductibles and download and just the way the process works, and the downloads coming in at a different deductible than what it really should be. And we have a carrier error. One of our partner agents pointed it out. We're working through it with the carrier. That's not complaining. That's finding something that needs to be fixed and fixing it. Addressing problems is not complaining or being negative. What would be negative out of that is literally staying there for months because the world around you made a mistake. Mistakes happen. And that's what we do is we hang out there. We don't give grace. We need to be better at giving grace. We need to be better at doing that with our business partners. That is a great starting spot for being more positive. The other starting spot is, to Tonya's point, something specific, a reminder, or just saying, you know what, if I catch myself being negative, I'm going to recognize it, own it, and then stop and go a different direction. If you do that, you will start paying attention to what you're saying. Our wonderful Dave, producer Dave, suggested that Tonya and I stop using a specific word. I don't like getting corrected, but I love Dave. And I love that he does what he does because it makes my life really easy and Tonya's life really easy. And between Tonya and Dave, I don't really do anything but show up and talk. And he's like, you know, stop using this word. It would help. And just having that told to me, every time I say that word, it's like something dings in my head. I cannot tell you, not only on this podcast, but in life, in conversations, how much I was saying that. And once it was pointed out that it's unnecessary, it decreases the statement. Is that a fair thing?
Yeah, it lowers the impact for sure.
It lowers the impact of your statement in your conversation. That's a huge awareness thing. If you point out something like that about yourself, or you ask someone that you really trust, are there things that I do, that I say that are negative? Do I come across negative? Are there specific phrases that I use a lot that might be negative? Somebody that you really trust, that loves you a lot, will tell you the truth. Your spouse, if you have kids, certain age of kids, ask them. Kids are really truthful to you. I have a couple of daughters that are really truthful. If I ask them if I'm doing something, I got to be prepared to have my feelings hurt. I love them and they love the heck out of me, but they're just honest with me. You don't have to look very far. You have somebody in your life that will point out negativity that you say all the time. And once you understand it and you become aware of it, you can fix it. But until then, if you have zero self-awareness, once you're aware, you can do something about it.
I keep a timer on my desk that I use for specific tasks, and it's 5, 15, 30, 60 minutes. And when I start to do something, I will flip it over and it keeps me on task throughout the day. If I hear myself starting to spiral, or if thoughts or I'm having a small internal rant, I flip that timer to 15 minutes and I give myself 15 minutes to get it out. Because let's face it, sometimes we need to let it out. But I give myself a very specific amount of time as soon as I recognize it's happening, and then that's all I allow myself. And that's really helped a lot.
I love timers. I'm very undisciplined. My lovely bride is a very disciplined timer person. She will set timers for different things as well. I need to get better at this. We have phones today that have unlimited timers. You can set timers for anything. And so I love the idea of that. And I love that as a functional, practical way to do this, and practical way to make progress towards just eliminating negativity in your life.
I had a mentor years ago that used a phrase that has stuck with me. And she would say, if you're going through hell, don't stop at the gift shop. And that was her way of reminding people that, okay, it's bad. But the more you spread it around, the more you stop at the gift shop and buy people souvenirs, the worse it's going to get.
And for those of you that are like me that aren't going to stop at the gift shop and you need something that's a little different, one of the guys I love to listen to, and I've said this before, the great Zig Ziglar, one of the books that he wrote at the end of his career before he passed was a book called Better Than Good. And the idea behind Better Than Good is that when someone says, how are you doing? Because we all do that. Hey, how's it going? Hey, how are you doing? Hey, it's great to see you. How are you doing? He noticed that everybody was like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Great. We always say the same thing. And so he started this thing about saying to people, better than good. And that was it. That was a classic Zig Ziglar zinger one-liner. Like, how are you doing, Zig? Better than good. And it sparked response in people. It caught people off guard. It made them almost check themselves in a way. If the small talk goes down a negative path, we seem to jump on the bandwagon instead of saying, whoa, let's go a different path here. We seem to go with the crowd. That's what Zig was doing. He was responding to people with such a positive statement that was so simple yet so far ahead of its time. You can't be negative. If somebody responds to you, if you respond to somebody of just better than good, how do you go negative with that? Looking for your Zig Ziglar better than good response or thinking about things in that way can make a huge change in, at first, your small circle, then your larger circle, and then that can go even across an entire industry like the insurance industry.
Depending on what room I'm in, I use fabulous as always or fantastic as always. And it does exactly that. It makes people stop and pause, and it creates conversation. So mine is not better than good. I have my own, but it definitely works. I'm struggling with the idea of Shane saying fabulous as always, just so you know.
Not going to say fabulous. I'm not a fabulous kind of guy. Now, you're a fabulous kind of lady, so I get it. It makes sense. Fabulous makes a lot of sense coming out of your mouth. Fabulous would not make sense. But how you respond to people will dictate your conversation. Should there be a conversation that ensues from a pleasant hello? Hello is better than hi. Hello is just different to me. There's just certain words that to me, they raise a level of positivity and pleasantry that people are going to naturally respond differently to you than if it's something sharp or less pleasant. Chick-fil-A, oh my goodness, my pleasure. Come on. How do you get mad at the teenager that made a human mistake when they say my pleasure? How do you get mad at that? If you get mad at that, check your heart.
There's your John Christ moment for the day.
There you go. Check your heart. If you can't go to a Chick-fil-A and come out of there happy, something's wrong, because you heard my pleasure 3 or 4 times on your visit. Chick-fil-A is a great example for us on many levels.
Going back to your word hello, the one thing that's going to turn me off is when somebody adds the word there after it. When you say hello there, because it's almost feels as though someone is talking down to you. And that's one of those things that when you go through speaker training, they always say, no matter what, you never say hello there, because you're making people feel icky when you open your mouth. And if you think back about meeting people when they say, hello there, you're like, 30 seconds into the conversation, they're not going to be your favorite person.
I can't disagree with that. Apple kind of grabbed a hold of that and hello. And now we've used it on things like hello at Integra, hello at whatever. And yes, it's a great point. Don't use other things around it. Hello there is going to come across a little less spectacular than just hello. You've got mail. The word hello was used in a very positive way.
I'm not quite sure how we started on an airplane from Atlanta to Pensacola and ended up at Chick Flicks.
It happens.
But I can't wait to go back and listen to this podcast and figure that out.
Yeah, it happens, especially when you're just randomly throwing thoughts out of your head.
Maybe one of the reasons that you enjoyed Chick Flicks is that ultimately they are positive in the end.
I'm not a movie producer or director, but don't you just hate really terrible endings? I mean, everybody wants the ending. I don't go to a movie to watch it end badly. Nobody wants to walk out of a theater feeling terrible.
Every book that our book club has read in the last 4 months has had this ending or no ending at all whatsoever. I'm like, y'all stop. We need a book that everybody lives happily ever after.
That's a book thing. I really believe that all these incredible authors out there that write these incredible books, they struggle to end the book. That's a working theory of mine. There are way more terrible endings to books than there are great endings to book in my life. And I've read a lot of different books, and I feel like that's the same. Hearing Julie talk about her book club, and I feel like there's a consistency there, that there's just a lot of authors that don't know how to close it down. Like, they don't know how to end it. And it's a real problem.
That's been my theory on John Grisham for the last 10 books that he's written. I have a certain number of pages, I'm done.
I agree. I've read lots of different stuff on that. John Grisham. He's one of those that he's reached a point where he's just not really sure how to end the book.
We hope today's podcast has brought some positivity to your life. If you're at the Arkansas Big Eye Conference and you see a really tall blonde girl hanging around the lobby, stop and talk to me. I'll bring some positivity to you. Just don't tell Shane I did it.
I'm going to do better at thinking about this. I'm going to take away from this podcast and I know I'm a really positive guy for the most part. The reality of it is that we can do better. If we just look at it and we think we're positive, we may not be as positive as we need to be. We can correct this. This is learned behavior to me. I don't know that we're naturally born Eeyores. I really just want to encourage people to think about what they're saying and be aware and have this self-awareness so that you can improve.
I'm going to leave us today with this quote from Muhammad Ali. It isn't the mountains ahead to climb that wear you out. It's the pebble in your shoe.
Attitude's a choice. Make a great one.
Bye, y'all.
Ready to get the ball rolling with your independent agency? Learn more at IntegraAgent.com. That's IntegraAgent.com. Thank you for joining us on IA Forward. Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now, or learn more at IAForward.com.